Not long after Neil Armstrong made his giant leap for mankind, a new expression entered our lexicon. If we can put a man on the moon, why can't we, you fill in the blank, build a decent umbrella or keep chewing gum from sticking to our shoes? A joke, yes, but it showed how Americans viewed Apollo as the ultimate human achievement up to that point. Or will it be for all time?
I've been asked 1,000,000 times, how does it feel to make that first step on the moon? I knew that when I made that first step, it was mine. Nobody could ever take it away from me.
Yet Gene Cernan almost gave up that chance. He'd done most everything an astronaut could do, even buzzing the moon in Apollo 10, except he never set foot on the lunar surface. Still, he turned down serving as lunar module pilot for Apollo 16, hoping to command a flight of his own. There was no guarantee there would even be an Apollo 17 or that he'd be on it. Yet, he was given the final flight in the program.
This is the last of the moon landings, but it's not the least, because this has got to be the best, right? Yes, sir. That's how we feel about it.
His crew, Ron Evans and the first non-military trained astronaut, geologist Harrison Jack Schmitt. The launch, America's first ever at night, took place on December 7th, 1972. The flight went smoothly. While looking back at the Earth, Schmitt snapped this photo, now known as the Blue Marble Picture.
We had our view of a nearly full Earth, and I took that from about 34,000 miles away. NASA tells me it's still the most requested photograph from the Apollo archives.
Apollo 17 arrived at the moon on December 11th, and during the descent to the surface, Cernan learned that being in command, while an honor, is also a heavy burden. You had to change some things at the last second.
That's right. But see, you can't push the stop button and say, oh, we got a problem. Let's go talk about it. You get down to about 200 feet, and we got within what we call the dead man's curve, where if the descent engine failed, you cannot stage fast enough to fire the ascent engine and get out of there and go back into orbit. One way or the other, you're going to land.
Right.
And then when they touch the surface, a blue light that says, shut the engine down. Because if you landed with the engine burning, it's possible a back pressure could have exploded the engine, and of course, that ruins your whole day. So it comes out, you press the button, and then boom, and all of a sudden you're feeling positive gravity. And the first thing I remember is looking out at this mountainous valley and realize that I am now where no human being has ever been before.
That's beautiful. This has got to be one of the most proud moments of my life, I guarantee you.
The total time we were outside the spacecraft on those excursions was 22 hours. That's the longest that any crew has been outside a spacecraft.
The rap against you is you wanted to be out there on the moon all the time.
Jack Schmitt and Ron Evans had never flown before. And I said, listen, guys, you're only coming this way once.
I was strolling on the moon one day.
Enjoy it. And they did, and I did.
Right.
We bounced around on the moon, but it was a natural response to our environment.
Hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity.
But going out further and staying out longer left them exposed to the lunar elements. Every minute they spent outside involved risk, as they soon discovered with the lunar rover.
Gene Cernan hooked a hammer on the fender and broke it off. The dust was raining down on you and the equipment and everything like that.
And on the moon, dust equals disaster.
Dust affects the thermal absorption of your suit. You'll get warmer in the suit. You'll use up cooling water much faster.
In the direct sunlight, the temperature of the moon's surface rises well above the boiling point.
It took some time, but we clamped a new dust flap on made of taped together photographs. That worked extremely well for the rest of the mission. Needless to say, we became honorary members of many automotive repair associations.
You had a couple of close calls there. You got dust on your spacesuit you could have burnt up.
When you leave the Earth, you put yourself in a new environment of risk. People say, boy, you got a lot of guts. I didn't have guts. I knew what I was doing. I didn't go to the moon not to come back.
And soon enough, it was time to come back. But not before the sight of the Earth, blooming with color, atmosphere, and life, in a cold, black sky, profoundly affected Cernan.
I can promise you, if I could take every human being with me for 5 minutes, stand them next to me on the surface of the moon, and look back at the Earth, the world might very well be a better place to live in today. There's no question in my mind that there is a creator of the universe.
I guess no atheist in space, that once you're exposed and see what you see.
This is not two dust particles that came together, created mass and energy, and eventually life. It's just inconceivable.
Well put. On December 14, 1972, after collecting almost 250 pounds of lunar samples, the most of any crew, the mission was over.
I started up the ladder, and I looked down at my final footprint, and I knew I wasn't coming back this way. And I looked up there at the earth, the multicolored blues of the oceans and whites of the snow and the clouds, not tumbling through space, but with purpose and an order, turning on an axis. So I started up the ladder, and I was looking for that proverbial freeze button, because I wanted to keep this moment going for a while.
American challenge of today has forged man's destiny of tomorrow.
You were the last human being to touch that surface. How does that make you feel?
Humble.
We leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return, with peace and in hope for all mankind. Godspeed the crew of Apollo 17.
I'm convinced that the space program will come back.
The country needs to have something to look forward to look up to be proud of.
Look how far we went in 70 years. My grandmother, on a farm in Michigan, had a ring telephone, no electricity, an outhouse, and she watched the first guy walk on the moon in her lifetime.
I'd like to see the next generation leave footprints like we left on the moon, and I hope that that happens someday.
Most of the Apollo astronauts thought that we'd go back or reach for even more distant goals. After all, that is the very nature of civilization, to continually build on our great accomplishments. Yes, the space program has continued, and yes, the technology of the space shuttle and the Mars rover, dazzling. But we've never equaled the jaw-dropping human accomplishments of Apollo or captured the imagination of younger Americans in quite the same way. And with our national debt now nearly reaching to the moon, it's kind of hard to see taxpayers spending much on spaceflight anytime soon. But maybe by spending a little time looking back, we can at least learn anew the lesson that Apollo showed us. If we Americans set our sights on a goal and summon the collective will to achieve it, even the sky isn't the limit. I'm Neil Cavuto. Thanks for watching.